At 2:47 in the morning, ER nurse Maya Voss stood over a woman whose face told two stories, the lies she was about to speak and the truth written in purple across her ribs. Maya had seen this before, too many times. But tonight, something inside her finally snapped, and the words that came out of her mouth in front of the entire emergency department would change everything. Because watching from the waiting room was a man who didn't believe in second chances, only in making sure there would never be a need for one. This is a story about the thin line between justice and vengeance, and what happens when good people stop waiting for the world to get better. If you want to see how far this story reaches, hit that like button and comment with your city so I can see where you're watching from. Now let's begin. The fluorescent lights in Brooklyn Methodist's emergency department had been flickering for 3 weeks. Maya Voss had submitted 4 maintenance requests. Nobody had come to fix them. She'd stopped noticing after the first week, the way you stop noticing the smell of disinfectant, or the constant beeping of monitors, or the small ways the hospital was falling apart around them. What she never stopped noticing were the women. The ones who came in at odd hours with odd explanations. The ones who flinched when you touched their shoulders. The ones whose injuries formed patterns. Always the ribs, always the upper arms, always places a long-sleeved shirt could hide. The ones who looked you dead in the eye and lied with the kind of conviction that came from practice. Maya had been an ER nurse for 9 years. She was 32 years old. She had seen things that would make most people quit, but she showed up every shift because somebody had to. Her dark hair was always pulled back in a bun that had gone messy hours ago. Her scrubs were the cheap navy blue kind that the hospital provided. She wore running shoes because you never stopped moving in the ER. And she'd learned years ago that caring about your appearance was a luxury nobody here could afford. It was 2:47 a.m. on a Thursday that felt like every other Thursday, except for the fact that it wasn't. "Maya, you're up," called Dr. Reeves from the nurses' station. He was holding a chart, but not really looking at it. He had the expression of someone who already knew what was coming and didn't want to deal with it. "Exam room 4, possible domestic." Possible, like there was any doubt. Maya took the chart from him without a word. Female, 26, multiple contusions, patient states she fell. Of course she did. They always fell. Down the stairs, into the door, over the dog. The creativity was impressive, really, if you didn't think too hard about what it meant. She pushed through the curtain into exam room 4. The woman on the bed was young, blonde, thin in the way that suggested she hadn't been eating properly. Her name was Elena Ward, according to the chart. She was wearing a tank top and yoga pants, and Maya could see the bruises immediately. Fresh ones, purple and angry, spreading across her collarbone and down her left arm. Older ones, yellow-green and fading, on her wrists. Elena looked up when Maya entered. Her eyes were red but dry. She'd finished crying before she got here. "Hi, Elena," Maya said, keeping her voice gentle. "I'm Maya. I'll be taking care of you tonight. Can you tell me what happened?" "I fell." Elena's voice was quiet but steady. She'd practiced this. "Down the stairs at my apartment. I wasn't paying attention." Maya pulled on gloves and moved closer. "Can I take a look?" Elena nodded. Maya examined her carefully, methodically. 3 cracked ribs, extensive bruising across the torso, defensive wounds on the forearms, a handprint-shaped bruise on the upper arm, clear as a photograph. This wasn't a fall. This was someone grabbing her, hitting her, throwing her into something hard. "Elena," Maya said quietly, "these injuries aren't consistent with a fall downstairs. I fell." "The bruising pattern suggests—" "I fell." Elena's voice was firmer now. "I'm clumsy. I've always been clumsy." Maya had heard these words before, spoken by 100 different women in 100 different exam rooms. She knew what came next. She would document the injuries, take photos, offer resources. Elena would refuse them. Maya would discharge her with pain medication and a follow-up appointment she wouldn't keep. Elena would go home to whoever did this to her. And in a few weeks or a few months, she'd be back. Or she wouldn't, because the next time would be worse. And the next time, she might not make it to the hospital at all. "Is there someone at home who did this to you?" Maya asked, even though she knew the answer. "No. Because if there is, we can help. We have social workers, we have shelters, we have—" I said no. Elena's eyes flashed with something that might have been anger or might have been fear. I fell down the stairs, that's all. Can you just give me something for the pain so I can go home? Home. That word shouldn't sound like a death sentence, but it did. Maya felt something tighten in her chest. A familiar feeling. She'd learned to swallow it down over the years, channel it into her work, let it burn quietly where nobody could see it. But tonight, for reasons she couldn't quite name, it wasn't staying down. You're not clumsy, Maya said. Her voice came out harder than she intended. You didn't fall. Someone hurt you. And if you go back to whoever did this, they're going to hurt you again. Worse this time. They always do. Elena's face went pale. You don't know that. I've been doing this for 9 years. I know exactly that. You don't understand. I understand that you're protecting someone who put you in a hospital bed. Maya's voice was rising now. She could feel it happening but couldn't stop it. I understand that you're going to lie to me, and then you're going to leave, and then you're going to come back here in a few weeks with worse injuries, or you're not going to come back at all because you'll be dead. Maya, Dr. Reeves had appeared in the doorway. His voice was low, warning. Can I see you outside for a moment? Maya ignored him. She was looking at Elena, at this woman who was barely more than a girl, and she was seeing someone else. A different woman. A different hospital. A different night 13 years ago. Tell me his name, Maya said. Maya. Dr. Reeves again, sharper this time. Tell me who did this to you. Elena's lip was trembling now. Please, just let me go home. Home, there was that word again. There was. Why? Maya demanded. The tightness in her chest had spread to her throat. Why would you go back to someone who treats you like this? Why would you protect him? You don't understand. You're right. I don't understand. Maya's voice cracked. I don't understand how you can sit there and lie to protect someone who's going to kill you. I don't understand how you can be this stupid. Maya! Dr. Reeves grabbed her arm. The curtain rustled. A security guard appeared. Then another nurse. They were staring at her. Elena was crying now, silent tears running down her face. Dr. Reeves was pulling Maya toward the door, and she let him because suddenly her legs didn't feel steady anymore. They ended up in the hallway. Dr. Reeves positioned himself between Maya and the exam room, his face tired and disappointed. What the hell was that? He asked. Maya opened her mouth, but no words came out. What could she say? That she'd lost her temper? That she'd violated every protocol they had? That she'd made it worse? The way she always made it worse when she let herself care too much? Go take a break, Dr. Reeves said. I'll finish with her. I'm fine. That wasn't a suggestion. Take a break. Cool off. We'll talk about this later. Maya wanted to argue, but the look on his face stopped her. She turned and walked away, past the nurse's station, past the waiting room, toward the break room at the end of the hall. Her hands were shaking. She shoved them into her pockets. She didn't make it to the break room. Halfway there, she passed the waiting room, and that's when she saw him. He was sitting in the far corner, away from the other patients. Most people in the ER waiting room looked anxious or in pain, or both. This man looked like he was waiting for a business meeting to start. He wore an expensive dark suit that fit too well to be off the rack. His black hair was styled back from his face. He was probably in his mid-30s, tall and broad-shouldered, with the kind of presence that made people instinctively give him space. He was looking at her, not the casual glance of someone people-watching. He was studying her with the kind of focus that made her skin prickle. Dark eyes, unreadable expression. She'd never seen him before. She was certain of that. You didn't forget a face like his. Maya looked away and kept walking. In the break room, she poured herself coffee that had been sitting on the burner for 6 hours and tasted like battery acid. Her hands were still shaking. She sat down at the small table and put her head in her hands. She'd screwed up, badly. She knew better than to let it get to her like that. She knew better than to yell at a patient, no matter how frustrating the situation was. Dr. Reeves would probably write her up. She might even get suspended, and Elena would go home to her abuser, and nothing Maya had said or done would change that. The thing nobody told you about being a nurse was how much of the job was watching people destroy themselves and not being allowed to stop them. How you could see the train coming and know exactly where it would end, but all you could do was stand on the platform and wave your arms uselessly. How the ones you couldn't save followed you home and lived in your head rent-free forever. Maya's phone buzzed. A text from Shanice, the night shift charge nurse. You good? She typed back, Yeah, just needed a minute. Reeves is pissed. I know. Elena just left. AMA. Against medical advice. Of course she did. Maya closed her eyes. She could see Elena's face, the way she'd looked when Maya called her stupid. The tears, the fear. Maya had wanted to help, and instead she'd made everything worse. Story of her life. She finished the terrible coffee and went back to work. The rest of the shift passed in the usual chaos. A car accident, 2 chest pains that turned out to be anxiety attacks, 1 actual heart attack, a kid who'd shoved a Lego up his nose, an elderly woman who'd fallen and broken her hip. Maya moved through it all on autopilot, doing her job, keeping her mouth shut. Dr. Reeves didn't say anything to her. That was almost worse than if he'd yelled. At 7 a.m., the day shift arrived. Maya gave her report, gathered her things, and walked out into the gray morning. The subway ride back to her apartment in Park Slope took 40 minutes. She lived alone in a studio that cost too much and had a radiator that clanked all night. She dropped her bag by the door, took a shower hot enough to hurt, and fell into bed. She didn't sleep. Instead, she stared at the ceiling and thought about Elena, about the man in the waiting room, about all the women she hadn't been able to save. Her mother's voice in her head, from 13 years ago. Stay out of it, Maya. It's not your problem. You can't fix everyone. Her mother had been wrong about a lot of things, but she'd been right about that. Maya's phone buzzed on the nightstand. She picked it up, expecting another text from Shanice. It was an unknown number. The message was short. The man who hurt Elena Ward won't hurt anyone again. Maya's blood went cold. She stared at the screen, reading the words over and over. It had to be a wrong number, a prank. Except nobody else knew about Elena except the hospital staff, and they wouldn't. A second message appeared. You care about these women. I can help you protect them. Maya sat up in bed, her heart pounding. She typed, "Who is this?" The response came immediately. Someone who is watching you tonight. Someone who understands that the system fails people like Elena every day. Someone with resources you don't have. What did you do? I made sure he won't touch her again, or anyone else. Maya's hands were shaking again. She thought about the man in the waiting room, the one who'd been staring at her. This isn't funny. I'm not joking. Check the news tomorrow. You'll see. I'm calling the police. You could. But we both know they won't help Elena any more than they helped the others. How many women have you watched go back to their abusers, Maya? How many have come back worse? How many haven't come back at all? Maya wanted to throw the phone across the room. She wanted to call 911. She wanted to scream. Instead, she typed, "You don't know anything about me. I know you've been doing this for 9 years. I know you're tired of watching them suffer. I know that tonight you finally said what you've been thinking every time one of them lies to protect the man who's destroying them. I know you want to do more than just patch them up and send them back. Stop. I can help you. When you're ready to save them instead of just treating them, you know where to find me. I don't know where to find you. I don't even know who you are." Yes, you do. The man in the waiting room, dark suit, dark eyes, watching her. You're insane, Maya typed. Maybe. But I'm also the only person offering you a real solution. What you're talking about is illegal. So is beating a woman until her ribs crack. The difference is, one of those things actually has consequences in my world. Maya stared at her phone, her mind racing. This was crazy. This person was crazy. She should block the number, report this to someone, forget it ever happened. Instead, she asked, "What happened to Elena's boyfriend?" The response took longer this time. "He's leaving New York, tonight. He won't be back. Elena is safe now." "How do I know you're telling the truth?" "You'll see soon enough. And when you do, when you realize that for the first time one of them is actually safe, you'll have a choice to make. Keep doing what you've been doing, or let me help you do what you've always wanted to do. Which is what? Save them." Maya dropped the phone onto the bed. Her whole body was trembling now. This was insane, completely insane. She should call the police. She should tell Dr. Reeves. She should do something other than sit here in her apartment having a conversation with a stranger who just implied they'd, threatened someone, hurt someone, killed someone. But even as she thought it, another part of her brain was whispering, what if he's telling the truth? What if Elena really is safe now? She picked up the phone again. "I don't even know your name." "Dante." "That's it? Just Dante?" "For now. And you expect me to just trust you? No. I expect you to wait and see if I'm lying. Check the news tomorrow. If I'm wrong, block this number and forget we ever spoke. If I'm right, then you'll know I can do what I say I can do. Why me? Because you care. Because you're angry. Because you're willing to say what everyone else is thinking but won't admit. Because you're exactly the kind of person who could make a real difference if you stopped playing by rules that don't work. Maya's heart was pounding so hard she could hear it. I'm not a vigilante. I'm not asking you to be. I'm asking you to give me names, that's all. Just names. Let me handle the rest. Names of what? The men who hurt the women you treat. The ones who send them into your ER over and over. The ones the system won't touch. You know who they are. You document their work every time you treat their victims. This is insane. Yes. I could lose my license. I could go to jail. You could. Or you could save lives. Maya closed her eyes. She thought about Elena, about the handprint bruise on her arm, about the way she'd lied with tears running down her face. She thought about all the other Elenas, the ones who'd come before and the ones who'd come after, the ones who went home and didn't come back. I need time to think, she typed. Take all the time you need. But while you're thinking, they're still suffering. Just remember that. The conversation ended there. No more messages came through. Maya lay back down in bed, but she knew she wouldn't sleep. Her mind was spinning, trying to make sense of what had just happened. A stranger had just offered to, what exactly? Hurt people? Scare them? Kill them? And she was actually considering it? No, she wasn't considering it. She was horrified by it. She was going to block the number and pretend this conversation never happened. Except she didn't block the number. Instead, she lay there in the gray morning light, thinking about Elena's eyes and the way they'd looked when she said, I fell. Maya didn't sleep that day. She didn't sleep the next night either. She worked her shift like a zombie, going through the motions, waiting for something to happen that would tell her whether the messages had been real or just some sick prank. On her break, she checked the news on her phone. It was buried in the local section, just a small article. Man critically injured in Park Slope assault. The victim was identified as Marcus Rivera, 28, found beaten in an alley near his apartment. He was in intensive care with multiple fractures and internal bleeding. The article mentioned that he had a history of domestic violence complaints, all of which had been dropped by the victims. Maya's hands went numb. She clicked on Marcus Rivera's social media profile. His relationship status said, in a relationship with Elena Ward. The man who hurt Elena Ward won't hurt anyone again. Maya's stomach turned over. She barely made it to the bathroom before she threw up. When she came back to the break room, her phone was buzzing. Another message from the unknown number. Told you. Maya's hands were shaking so hard she could barely type. You put him in the hospital. He put Elena in a hospital 5 times in the past year. Fair trade. This is assault. This is attempted murder. This is justice. This is insane. You already said that. Are you going to call the police? Maya stared at her phone. Was she? Should she? A man was in intensive care because of her, because she'd lost her temper in an exam room, because this stranger had been watching, because she'd answered his messages instead of blocking him immediately. What if he dies? She typed. He won't. I'm not a killer, Maya. I'm a problem solver. Marcus Rivera will survive. He'll also leave New York as soon as he's discharged, and he'll never come near Elena again. That's the deal. What deal? The deal I made with him when I explained that if he ever touches her, or any other woman again, next time will be worse. Maya's head was spinning. You can't just go around beating people up. I can, actually. That's one of the benefits of being who I am. And who are you? Someone with resources. Someone with reach. Someone who can do what you can't. I don't want this. Yes, you do. You just don't want to admit it. Maya stood up and paced the break room. Her shift was almost over. She needed to go home, sleep, think clearly. This was all happening too fast. I need you to leave me alone, she typed. Okay, that was it. Just okay. No argument, no pressure. Somehow that made it worse. Maya blocked the number. Then she unblocked it. Then she blocked it again. She went home. She took a shower. She tried to sleep and failed. Around noon, she gave up and made coffee. While it was brewing, she checked the news again. Elena Ward had posted on social media. Just a short update. Taking some time away to clear my head. Thank you to everyone who has been supportive. The comments were full of encouragement. Friends telling her they loved her, that she deserved better, that they were proud of her for putting herself first. Nobody mentioned Marcus. Nobody asked questions. Maya stared at the post. Elena was alive. She was safe. For the first time in over a year, according to Dante, she was actually safe. And all it had taken was one man being beaten nearly to death. Maya's phone rang. Unknown number. Different from the one she'd blocked. She answered it. "Don't hang up." Dante's voice was smooth, confident, with the faintest trace of an accent she couldn't quite place. "I promised I'd leave you alone, and I will. But I need you to understand something first." "I don't want to talk to you." Marcus Rivera put 5 women in the hospital in the past 3 years. Elena was just the most recent. The others all dropped charges because he threatened them, their families, their pets. He was never going to stop. The police couldn't touch him because the victims were too scared to testify. So he kept hurting people, and the system kept failing them. That doesn't justify. I'm not asking for justification. I'm asking you to think about those 5 women. Think about Elena. She's safe now. Really safe. For the first time in a year, she can sleep without wondering if tonight is the night he kills her. Maya closed her eyes. "What do you want from me?" "Names. Just names. When you treat a woman whose injuries don't match her story, when you know someone is hurting her, give me a name. That's all. I'll take care of the rest." And by take care of, you mean, I'll make sure they stop. Sometimes that means a conversation. Sometimes it means they leave town. Sometimes it means they end up like Marcus. It depends on the situation. This is wrong. Is it? More wrong than doing nothing. More wrong than watching them suffer and die because the system is broken? Maya didn't have an answer for that. "I'm not asking you to get your hands dirty," Dante continued. "I'm not asking you to hurt anyone. I'm just asking you to tell me who needs to be stopped. The rest is on me." "Why are you doing this?" There was a pause. When Dante spoke again, his voice was different, quieter. "Because someone should have done it for my sister." Maya's breath caught. "What happened to your sister?" "What always happens. She was murdered by her boyfriend, the same boyfriend she'd gotten a restraining order against. The same boyfriend who'd been arrested twice and released both times. The system failed her, and she died because of it." "I'm sorry. I don't want your sympathy. I want your help." Maya sat down on her couch. Her coffee was getting cold. Outside her window, Brooklyn was waking up. People going to work, living their lives, completely unaware that somewhere in the city, women were being beaten, terrorized, killed. And the people who were supposed to protect them were filling out paperwork and wondering why the victims wouldn't cooperate. "How many?" Maya heard herself ask. "How many what?" "How many men have you done this to?" Counting Marcus? 17. 17. Maya felt dizzy. "And how many women are safe now because of it?" 17. "You're sure they're safe? You're sure these men won't come back?" "I'm sure. I make them understand what will happen if they do. They believe me." Maya knew she should hang up. She knew she should call the police, report this conversation, wash her hands of the whole thing. But instead she heard herself say, "If I did this, and I'm not saying I am, but if I did, how would it work? You send me a name and whatever details you have, address, place of work, vehicle description, anything that helps me find them. I do the rest. You never hear about it again unless you check the news or the victim's social media. And if I want to stop, then you stop. I'm not going to force you into anything, Maya. This has to be your choice." "What if you get caught?" "I won't." "Everyone thinks they won't get caught." "I'm not everyone." There was absolute certainty in his voice. "This is what I do. I'm good at it." "What are you exactly? Some kind of vigilante?" "Something like that." That's not an answer. Let's just say I operate in spaces where the law doesn't reach. I have resources, connections, experience, and I have a very specific motivation. Maya rubbed her temples. "This is insane. You keep saying that because it keeps being true." Dante laughed. It was a dark sound, but there was genuine amusement in it. "I like you, Maya Voss. You're honest. That's rare. How do you even know my full name?" "I pay attention." That should have been creepy, but somehow it wasn't. Or maybe it was and Maya was too tired to care anymore. "I need time," she said. "Take it. When you're ready, you have my number." "You called me. I don't have your number." "Check your messages." Maya looked at her phone. There was a new text from the same unknown number she'd blocked earlier. Just a string of digits and a single word. Ready. I haven't decided yet, Maya said. I know, but you will. The line went dead. Maya sat there on her couch for a long time, holding her cold coffee, staring at her phone. She thought about Elena, about Marcus Rivera in intensive care, about Dante's sister who died because the system failed her. She thought about the woman who'd come into the ER last month with cigarette burns on her arms. The one who'd come in with a dislocated shoulder and a story about falling off a ladder. The one who'd come in barely conscious from being choked. She thought about her own mother, who died when Maya was 19, officially from a stroke. Unofficially from 30 years of stress and fear and swallowing her words because speaking up meant making things worse. The system was broken. Maya had known that for years. But knowing it and doing something about it were two very different things. She picked up her phone and stared at Dante's number. Then she put it down without calling. Not yet. She wasn't ready yet. But someday, probably someday soon, there would be another woman in another exam room with another lie that fooled no one. And when that happened, Maya would have to make a choice. Keep playing by rules that didn't work, or break them, and live with what came after. The choice came 3 weeks later. Maya had almost convinced herself it wouldn't, that she'd deleted Dante's number, that the whole thing had been some fever dream brought on by exhaustion and too many years of watching people destroy themselves. She went to work, she came home, she lived her life. She didn't think about Marcus Rivera in his hospital bed, or Elena Ward's social media posts about starting fresh, or the 17 women Dante claimed were safe now. Except she did think about it, every single day. And then Amy Chen walked into the ER at 11:30 on a Saturday night, and the choice stopped being theoretical. Maya saw her coming from across the department, young, maybe 23, Asian, holding her left arm against her body in a way that screamed broken bone. She was dressed for a night out, heels and a short dress, but her makeup was smudged, and there was something in her eyes that Maya recognized immediately. "I need to see someone," Amy said to the triage nurse. Her voice was steady, but Maya could hear the tremor underneath. "I think my wrist is broken." "How did it happen?" the triage nurse asked, already typing. "I fell, at a club. It was crowded and someone bumped into me and I fell." Maya closed her eyes. "I fell." Those 2 words again. She walked over before she could stop herself. "I'll take her," she told the triage nurse. Amy followed Maya to an exam room without speaking. She sat on the bed carefully, protecting her arm. Up close, Maya could see the bruises. Fresh ones on her neck, partially hidden by her hair. Older ones on her legs, visible below the hem of her dress. Maya closed the curtain and pulled on gloves. "I'm Maya. Let me see your wrist." Amy extended her arm. The wrist was swollen, already turning purple. Maya examined it gently, watching Amy's face for reactions. "We'll need x-rays, but I'm pretty sure it's fractured. Can you tell me exactly how this happened?" "I already said. I fell at a club." "Which club?" Amy hesitated. "I don't remember the name." "You don't remember the name of the club you were just at?" "It's not important." Maya pulled over a stool and sat down so she was at eye level with Amy. "Amy, I need you to be honest with me. Did someone do this to you?" "No." "Because if someone hurt you, we can help. We have resources. We can call the police." "I don't need the police." Amy's voice cracked. "I just need you to fix my wrist so I can go home." There it was again. Home. The place she should be running from, not running to. Maya took a breath and tried to keep her voice calm. "I'm going to ask you some questions, and I need you to answer them honestly. Has anyone hit you, pushed you, or otherwise hurt you in the past 6 months?" "No." "Are you afraid of anyone?" "No." "Is there someone waiting for you at home who might be upset that you're here?" Amy's eyes filled with tears. "Please just fix my wrist." Maya wanted to scream. She wanted to grab Amy by the shoulders and shake her until she told the truth. She wanted to explain that lying wouldn't save her, that going home wouldn't make things better, that the next time might be the last time. Instead, she stood up and said, "I'll order those x-rays. We'll get you taken care of." The x-rays confirmed a fractured wrist. Clean break. Would heal fine with a cast in time. Maya wrapped it, gave Amy a prescription for pain medication, and discharged her with instructions to follow up with orthopedics in a week. Amy signed the discharge papers with her good hand and left without looking back. Maya stood at the nurse's station and watched her go. Watched her walk out those doors in her short dress and heels and broken wrist, heading back to wherever she'd come from. Back to whoever had done this to her. Shanice came up beside her. Another one? Yeah. You okay? Yeah. Shanice didn't believe her, but she didn't push. That was one of the things Maya appreciated about working with her. Shanice had been a nurse for 15 years, and she'd learned when to ask questions and when to just stand next to someone in silence. They stood there together for a moment. Then Shanice said quietly, "You can't save all of them." "I know. You can't even save most of them." "I know that too. But you still try." Maya didn't answer. What was there to say? Her shift ended at 7 in the morning. She went home, took a shower, and sat on her couch with her phone in her hand. She stared at it for 20 minutes before she finally opened her messages and found Dante's number. She typed, "Amy Chen, early 20s, Asian, works at a salon called Jade Cuts in Sunset Park. Someone broke her wrist tonight. She wouldn't say who, but I'm guessing boyfriend or husband." She was terrified. She stared at the message for another 5 minutes. Her finger hovered over the send button. This was it. The line. Once she crossed it, there was no going back. She thought about Amy's eyes, about the way she'd said, "Please just fix my wrist," like that was all she deserved. Like being hurt was just something that happened to her. Like weather. Maya pressed send. The response came within seconds. "I'll handle it." That was all. No questions, no demands for more information. Just 3 words that meant someone was about to have a very bad day. Maya dropped her phone on the couch and put her head in her hands. She'd just done something irreversible. She'd just sent a man she'd never met to hurt someone else she'd never met, based on nothing but her suspicion and Amy Chen's frightened eyes. She waited for the guilt to hit her. The horror, the regret, the certainty that she'd made a terrible mistake. It didn't come. What came instead was a strange, cold sense of relief, like she'd been holding her breath for 9 years and finally exhaled. She slept for 4 hours and woke up to a text message. Done. He won't touch her again. Maya stared at the message. She wanted to ask what that meant, what Dante had done, whether anyone was dead or hospitalized or just scared. She wanted details, evidence, proof that this was real. She didn't ask. She didn't want to know. Instead, she got up and made coffee and tried to pretend that her hands weren't shaking. Over the next 2 months, Maya sent Dante 4 more names. Each time it got a little easier. A woman named Jessica, who came in with bruises shaped like fingers around her throat. A teenager named Keisha, whose boyfriend had given her a concussion. A woman in her 50s named Patricia, whose husband had broken her nose for the 3rd time in 2 years. A woman named Layla, who wouldn't stop apologizing, as if showing up to the hospital with cracked ribs was somehow her fault. Each time Maya sent a name and whatever details she could gather. Each time Dante responded with the same message, "I'll handle it." And each time the women got better. Not immediately, not all at once, but they got better. Jessica started posting pictures on social media of herself smiling, actually smiling. Keisha's mother called the hospital to thank them for the care her daughter had received. Patricia came back for a follow-up appointment looking 10 years younger, like someone had removed a weight from her shoulders. Maya didn't ask questions. She didn't want to know what Dante did to make it happen. She just watched the women heal and told herself that the ends justified the means. Dr. Reeves noticed something was different. He pulled her aside one afternoon and said, "You seem better lately, less angry." Maya shrugged. "Maybe I'm just getting better at letting things go." "Good. That outburst with Elena Ward was concerning. I was worried about you." "I'm fine." "You sure? Because if you need to talk to someone, we have counseling services available." "I'm sure, really, I'm good." And the strange thing was, she meant it. For the first time in years, she felt like she was actually making a difference. Not just putting bandages on problems that would come right back, but actually solving them. The women she treated were safe now. Really safe. That had to count for something. She was halfway through her shift on a Wednesday night when her phone buzzed with a call from the same unknown number Dante had used before. She stepped into the medication room for privacy before answering. "We need to meet," Dante said without preamble. Maya's stomach tightened. "Why?" "Because it's time you understood who you're working with. And because I have a proposition for you." "I'm not interested in propositions." You'll want to hear this one. Tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. There's a restaurant in Red Hook called Sorrento's. Come alone. I don't think... Maya, we've been doing this for 2 months. You've sent me 5 names. You've trusted me with information that could destroy both our lives. Don't you think it's time we actually met face to face? He had a point. A stupid, dangerous point, but a point nonetheless. Fine, Maya said. Tomorrow night. But I'm not agreeing to anything beyond that. Understood? The line went dead. Maya stood in the medication room, her heart pounding. This was a mistake. She should cancel, block his number, pretend this conversation never happened. Meeting him in person made this real in a way that text messages didn't. But she didn't cancel. Because the truth was, she was curious. She wanted to know who this man was, what he looked like, why he was doing this. She wanted to put a face to the voice that had promised to save the women nobody else would save. The next night, she took the subway to Red Hook. Sorrento's turned out to be a small Italian restaurant tucked away on a side street. The kind of place that looked like it had been there for 50 years and would be there for 50 more. Maya pushed through the door and was immediately hit with the smell of garlic and tomato sauce. A hostess approached her. Can I help you? I'm meeting someone. Table for 2? Name? I don't... She's with me. The voice came from behind her. Maya turned around and there he was. The man from the hospital waiting room 2 months ago. Dark suit, dark eyes, that same intense presence that made people step back without realizing they were doing it. Dante. He was taller than she'd expected, maybe 6'2", with broad shoulders and the kind of build that suggested he spent time in a gym. His black hair was shorter than she remembered, styled but not fussy. He was clean-shaven, and up close she could see a thin scar running along his left jawline. He looked like someone who could hurt you badly if he wanted to, but also like someone who'd know exactly where to hit to make it quick. Maya, he said and smiled. It was a surprisingly warm smile, nothing like what she'd expected. Thank you for coming. I almost didn't. But you did. Come on, our table's in the back. He led her through the restaurant to a private booth in the corner, the kind of spot where you could have a conversation without being overheard. As soon as they sat down, a waiter appeared with 2 glasses of red wine. I didn't order yet, Maya said. I did. You like Chianti? I don't know, I don't drink much. You might want to start. Dante took a sip of his wine. This conversation is going to be uncomfortable. Maya's hands went cold. Why? What happened? Nothing bad. Relax. Everyone you've sent me is fine. Better than fine, actually. That's why we're here. Then what's this about? Dante leaned back in the booth, studying her with those dark, unreadable eyes. Tell me something, Maya. Do you know what I do for a living? You hurt people who deserve it. That's one way to put it. But it's not my job. It's more of a passion project. My actual job is running a very successful import-export business. Maya raised an eyebrow. Import-export? That's what they all say. In my case, it's true. I import olive oil, wine, artisan goods from Italy. I export specialty foods to Europe. It's extremely legitimate and extremely profitable. So why the side business in vigilante justice? Because I can. Because I have the resources, the connections, and the motivation, and because someone needs to do it. He took another sip of wine. But that's not why we're here. We're here because I want to expand our operation. Our operation? Right now, you send me names as you encounter them. That's good, but it's reactive. We're only helping the women who make it to your ER, and only after they've already been hurt. I want to be proactive. I want to find these men before they put their victims in the hospital. Maya's mouth went dry. How would that even work? I have access to resources you don't. Court records, police reports, restraining orders. I can identify men who are likely to escalate, who have histories of violence, who are ticking time bombs. But I need help on the ground. Someone who understands the medical side, who can identify victims, who can reach out to women who might be in danger before it's too late. You want me to recruit victims? I want you to offer them a way out. Real protection, not a restraining order that gets violated the same day it's issued. Real safety, not a shelter that they have to leave after 30 days. Real justice, not a system that lets their abusers walk free. Maya shook her head. That's insane. How would I even approach someone like that? Hi, I'm a nurse, and also I work with a vigilante who can make your abuser disappear. You don't mention me at all. You just let them know that there are options beyond what the system offers, that there are people who can help them in ways the police can't. If they're interested, you give them my number. I take it from there. And what exactly do you do from there? Dante's expression didn't change. I make the problem go away. By hurting people. By stopping people. There's a difference. Is there? Maya leaned forward. Because from where I'm sitting, you're just trading one kind of violence for another. Not the same at all. The violence I use is controlled, targeted, and temporary. The violence these men inflict is random, ongoing, and escalating. I'm not creating victims, Maya. I'm preventing them. You're still breaking the law. The law is broken. We're just working around it. Maya wanted to argue, but she couldn't find the words. Because everything he was saying made a terrible kind of sense. The system was broken. Restraining orders didn't work. Shelters were overcrowded and underfunded. Police were overwhelmed and often dismissive. And meanwhile, women kept dying. What's in it for you? She asked. Why are you doing this? Dante's jaw tightened. I told you. My sister. That's not the whole story. No, it's not. He was quiet for a moment, staring into his wine glass. When he spoke again, his voice was different, harder. Her name was Julia. She was 22 when she died. Her boyfriend's name was Marco. He was charming, successful, came from a good family. Nobody believed her when she said he was hurting her. Not our parents, not her friends, not the police. She got a restraining order, and he violated it within hours. She went to the police, and they told her there was nothing they could do unless he actually hurt her again. So she went home, and he killed her. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Be angry, because that's what I am. I'm angry that my sister died begging for help that never came. I'm angry that Marco served 3 years in prison and got out early for good behavior. I'm angry that there are thousands of women just like Julia, and the system fails them every single day. Maya felt something shift in her chest. She thought Dante was just some thug with a savior complex. But this was different. This was personal. This was grief turned into action, rage channeled into purpose. What happened to Marco? She asked quietly. Dante met her eyes. He had an accident, a fatal one, about 6 months after he got out of prison. You killed him. I removed a threat. That's what I do, Maya. I remove threats that the system won't touch, and I'm very good at it. The waiter appeared with menus. Dante ordered for both of them without asking what she wanted. Under normal circumstances, Maya would have been annoyed, but nothing about this situation was normal. When the waiter left, Maya said, You're asking me to be complicit in assault, maybe even murder. I'm asking you to save lives. The assault is my problem, not yours. If I give you names, it's my problem too. Legally, maybe. Morally, I don't think so. You're not hurting anyone. You're just providing information. What I do with that information is on me. Maya rubbed her temples. This is insane. You keep saying that. Because it keeps being true. Dante smiled. You also said that before. Are we going to keep having the same conversation, or are we going to actually do something? I don't know. I need to think. Then think. But while you're thinking, remember Amy Chen. Remember Jessica and Keisha and Patricia and Layla. Remember that they're safe now because you made a choice. And ask yourself how many more women you could save if you made a bigger choice. Their food arrived. Some kind of pasta dish that smelled amazing but Maya couldn't taste. She pushed it around her plate while Dante ate like this was just a normal dinner with a normal person having a normal conversation. How many people have you killed? She asked suddenly. Dante didn't even blink. Are you sure you want to know? Yes? 4, not counting Marco. Maya's stomach turned. Jesus. All of them were about to kill someone else. All of them had exhausted every legal avenue. All of them left me no choice. There's always a choice. You're right. I could have let them kill their victims. I chose not to. Dante put down his fork and looked at her seriously. I'm not a psychopath, Maya. I don't enjoy hurting people, but I'm willing to do what needs to be done when nobody else will. That's the difference between me and them. I have a line. They don't. And where exactly is your line? Protecting innocent people. That's it. That's the only thing that matters. Maya wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that this was righteous, that they were the good guys, that violence in service of justice was somehow different from violence in service of cruelty. But she'd been a nurse long enough to know that good intentions didn't make you right. They just made you feel better about being wrong. "I need to go," she said, standing up. Dante didn't try to stop her. "Think about it. You have my number when you're ready." "What if I'm never ready? Then we stop. I'm not going to force you into anything. This only works if you choose it." Maya walked out of the restaurant without looking back. She took the subway home in a daze, her mind spinning. When she got to her apartment, she poured herself a glass of water and stood at the window, staring out at Brooklyn. 4 dead. Plus 17 hurt badly enough to never come back. Plus whatever Dante had done to make Amy and the others safe. And on the other side of that equation, how many women alive who wouldn't be otherwise? How many children who still had mothers? How many futures that hadn't been destroyed? Maya's phone buzzed, a text from Shanice. Guess what? Amy Chen just came in for her follow-up. Looked like a different person. Smiling, laughing, even flirting with Dr. Patel. Whatever happened, it worked. Maya stared at the message for a long time. Whatever happened, it worked. That was the problem, wasn't it? It was working. These women were getting better, getting free, getting lives back. And all it cost was the pain of men who'd been causing pain for years. Was that wrong? Maybe. Probably. Yes. But was it worse than doing nothing? Maya pulled up Dante's number and typed, "I'm in. But I want to meet the women. I want to see that they're actually okay." The response came immediately. "Tomorrow. I'll send you an address." Maya put down her phone and took a long drink of water. Her hands were steady now. Her heart rate was normal. She felt calm in a way she hadn't felt in years. She'd just agreed to become an accomplice to assault, possibly murder. She'd just crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. And the strangest part was that she didn't regret it. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The address Dante sent was in Crown Heights, a brownstone on a quiet residential street that looked like every other building on the block. Maya stood on the sidewalk for 5 minutes before she convinced herself to walk up the steps. Her hand was raised to knock when the door opened. A woman stood there, mid-40s, with gray-streaked black hair pulled into a ponytail. She had kind eyes and the sort of face that suggested she'd seen too much but hadn't let it make her mean. "You must be Maya," the woman said. "I'm Lucia. Come in." Maya stepped inside and immediately felt like she'd walked into someone's home rather than whatever she'd been expecting. The entryway had family photos on the walls, shoes lined up neatly by the door, the smell of coffee brewing somewhere deeper in the house. It was warm, lived in, normal. "Dante's upstairs," Lucia said. "But first I want you to meet someone." She led Maya down a hallway into a bright kitchen where 2 women sat at a table. One was young, maybe 19, with dark skin and her hair in braids. The other was older, white, thin, with nervous hands that kept moving even when the rest of her was still. "This is Keisha," Lucia said, gesturing to the younger woman, "and this is Patricia." Maya's breath caught. She knew those names. She'd sent those names to Dante. Keisha stood up and extended her hand. "You're the nurse, right? From the ER." Maya nodded, unable to speak. "I wanted to thank you," Keisha said. Her voice was strong, confident. Nothing like the terrified teenager who'd come into the hospital with a concussion 2 months ago. "For sending help. For caring enough to actually do something." "I don't," Maya started, but Patricia cut her off. "We know what you did. We know you gave our names to Dante, and we know what happened after." Patricia's hands were still now, folded on the table. "My husband called me 3 days after I saw you. He was in Philadelphia, said he was never coming back, said if I ever tried to find him, he'd end up in pieces. I haven't heard from him since." "Is he—" Maya couldn't finish the question. "Alive, yes. Scared? Also yes. Gone? Definitely." Patricia smiled and it transformed her face. "For the first time in 23 years, I can sleep through the night. My daughter can visit me without being terrified. I can exist without constantly calculating how to avoid setting him off. Do you have any idea what that's worth?" Maya sat down heavily in an empty chair. "I thought I was helping, but I didn't know if—" "You were helping," Keisha interrupted. "My boyfriend put me in the hospital twice before you sent my name to Dante. He would have done it again, probably worse. But 3 weeks ago, he got into a car accident, broke both his legs, shattered his collarbone. He's going to be fine physically, but he's also moving back to Georgia to live with his mother. Funny how these things work out. Maya looked between the two women. An accident? That's what the police report said. Keisha's expression was carefully neutral. Whether it was actually an accident or just looked like one, I don't really care. He's gone. I'm safe. That's all that matters. The door opened and Dante walked in, carrying a bag of groceries. He looked different in jeans and a sweater, less intimidating, almost normal. I see you've met some of our success stories, he said to Maya. Success stories, Maya repeated. Is that what we're calling this? What would you call it? Maya didn't have an answer. Lucia took the groceries from Dante and started unpacking them. There are 6 women staying here right now, she said. Some are just passing through, getting their bearings before they move on to something permanent. Others need more time. We provide housing, food, counseling, legal assistance, job training, whatever they need to build a new life. How many places like this do you have, what? Maya asked. 4 in Brooklyn, Dante said. 2 in Queens, 1 in the Bronx. All of them look like regular houses because they are regular houses. Nobody knows what they're for except the people who need them. Patricia stood up. I should get going. My shift starts in an hour. Where are you working? Maya asked. Bakery in Park Slope. It's not much, but it's mine. Nobody yells at me. Nobody tells me I'm worthless. Nobody breaks my things because dinner wasn't ready on time. She pulled on a jacket. I'm 47 years old and I'm just now learning what it feels like to not be afraid. That's because of you, both of you. She left through the back door. Keisha followed a few minutes later, heading to a class at community college. Suddenly, it was just Maya, Dante, and Lucia in the kitchen. Lucia poured coffee without asking if anyone wanted it. You're wondering if this is real, she said to Maya, if we're actually helping these women or just using them to justify violence. The thought crossed my mind. Good. You should wonder. You should question everything we do. The minute you stop questioning is the minute this becomes something else. Lucia sat down across from Maya. I was one of them, about 8 years ago. My husband put me in the hospital so many times I knew all the nurses by name. I had restraining orders, police reports, caseworkers. None of it mattered. He always came back, until Dante made sure he didn't. What happened to him? He moved to Florida, got a job, got therapy, got his life together. He sends me money every month, not because he has to, but because he's genuinely sorry for what he did. Turns out some people can change when they're properly motivated. Maya's coffee was getting cold. She wrapped her hands around the mug anyway. And the ones who can't change? They have accidents, Lucia said calmly, or they disappear, or they end up in prison for something unrelated that Dante happened to know about. It varies. You're talking about murder. I'm talking about survival, their victims' survival. Lucia's voice was hard now. You want to judge us? Fine. But first, tell me what you would have done differently. Tell me how you would have saved these women using the broken system we have. Tell me which law or policy or program would have stopped my husband from beating me unconscious in my own kitchen. Maya couldn't answer that. That's what I thought. Lucia stood up. I have to go pick up some donations. Dante will show you the rest. She left Maya and Dante alone in the kitchen. The silence stretched out between them, thick and uncomfortable. You're angry, Dante said finally. I'm confused. I thought I knew what this was. Some kind of vigilante justice thing. But this is bigger than that. A lot bigger. We've helped 43 women in the past year. 43 women who are going to die or wish they were dead. They're all alive now, all safe, all building new lives. That's not nothing, Maya. And how many people did you hurt to make that happen? Dante's expression didn't change. Does it matter? Yes. Why? Because you need to calculate some kind of moral equation, figure out if the numbers add up in our favor? He leaned against the counter, arms crossed. Life doesn't work like that. There's no balance sheet. There's just people in pain and people willing to stop that pain by whatever means necessary. That's a convenient philosophy for someone who likes hurting people. I don't like it. Dante's voice was sharp now. I hate it. Every time I put someone in the hospital or scare them into leaving town, I hate it. But I hate the alternative more. I hate the idea of doing nothing while women die. I hate the idea of letting the system fail them because following the rules is more important than saving lives. Maya stood up. Show me the rest. Dante took her upstairs. The second floor had 4 bedrooms, each one simply furnished but comfortable. One had children's toys scattered on the floor. Another had medical textbooks stacked on the desk. "We're not just giving them a place to hide," Dante said. "We're giving them futures, education, job training, therapy, legal help with custody battles and divorces, whatever they need to actually leave, not just escape for a few weeks before being forced back." The third floor had been converted into a common area. Comfortable couches, a TV, bookshelves full of donated books. A woman sat on one of the couches reading. She looked up when they entered, and Maya recognized her immediately. Elena Ward. She looked completely different from the terrified woman Maya had yelled at in the ER 6 months ago. Her face had filled out, the haunted look was gone from her eyes. She wore jeans and a college sweatshirt, her blonde hair pulled back in a messy bun. "Maya," Elena said, standing up, "I was hoping I'd get to see you again." "Elena, I'm so sorry about what I said that night. I was out of line." "You were right." Elena crossed the room and hugged her, quick and fierce. "Everything you said was right. I was being stupid. I was protecting someone who was going to kill me. I just couldn't see it until someone made me see it." "Where's Marcus?" "California, last I heard. Dante made it very clear what would happen if he ever came back to New York." Elena smiled, and it was genuine. "I'm in my second semester at community college, studying social work. I want to help other women the way you and Dante helped me." Maya felt something crack open in her chest. This was real. These women were really safe, really building new lives. It wasn't just Dante's violence with a pretty bow on it. It was actual tangible change. "Come on," Dante said. "There's one more thing I want to show you." They went back downstairs through the kitchen and down another set of stairs into a basement. Maya expected something sinister, but what she found was an office. Computers, filing cabinets, a large corkboard covered in photos and notes. "This is where we track them," Dante said. "The men. Court records, police reports, hospital visits. We identify patterns, escalations, men who are likely to kill if nobody stops them." Maya walked closer to the corkboard. Dozens of faces stared back at her, connected by red string to photos of women. Some of the men's photos had red X's over them. Others had dates written beneath them. "The X's," she asked. "Handled. Either they're gone, incarcerated, or sufficiently scared to change their behavior." "And the dates?" "When we expect them to escalate based on the pattern, we try to intervene before that happens." Maya's eye caught on one photo in particular. A middle-aged man in a suit, professional headshot, expensive looking. The name beneath read Judge Adrian Bell. "Who's this?" Dante's expression darkened. "Someone we've been watching for a while. He's a problem." "A judge?" "Family court judge. He's been on the bench for 15 years. He has a wife named Vivian and 2 adult children who won't speak to him. He sent dozens of children back to abusive parents, denied protective orders to women who needed them, and ruled in favor of abusive fathers in custody cases, all while beating his own wife at home." Maya felt sick. Why hasn't anyone stopped him? Because he's powerful, connected, and very good at hiding what he is. His wife won't testify against him. His colleagues worship him, and the system he's supposed to uphold protects him instead. Dante tapped the photo. "But we're working on it." "How?" "We need evidence, real concrete evidence that can't be ignored, and we need his wife to be willing to provide it." "Is she?" "Not yet. She's terrified. But we're working on building trust." Dante turned to face Maya. "This is what I wanted you to see. This isn't just about stopping individual abusers. It's about dismantling the systems that protect them, taking down people like Bell who use their power to hurt others and shield other abusers. That's the real work." Maya stared at the judge's photo. "If you take him down, it'll make the news. People will ask questions. Let them ask. We'll have evidence, witnesses, a case so solid nobody can ignore it. And when he falls, everyone he's protected falls with him." "You sound confident." "I am, because I have something most people don't." "What's that?" "You." Maya turned to look at him. "What do you mean?" "You have access to medical records, ER visits, patterns of injury. You can identify women who are in danger, including the ones who haven't asked for help yet. You can reach out to them, offer them a way out, give them hope. And most importantly, you can help us identify the men who need to be stopped before they kill someone." You want me to go through medical records looking for abuse victims? I want you to use your training and experience to save lives. Isn't that why you became a nurse? It was. Maya had gone into nursing because she wanted to help people, wanted to make a difference. But somewhere along the way, it had turned into just showing up, just getting through shifts, just watching people destroy themselves while she wrote notes and filed reports that nobody would ever read. There's someone else I want you to meet, Dante said. She's not here yet, but she will be soon. Her name is Detective Nora Hale. Maya's blood went cold. A detective? You're working with a cop? Not just any cop. A detective who understands that sometimes the law isn't enough, who's seen too many cases get dropped, too many women die while waiting for the system to protect them. Dante checked his watch. She should be here in about 10 minutes. You should hear her story before you make any decisions. I've already made my decision. I'm here, aren't I? Being here and being committed are two different things. I need to know you're all in, Maya, because once we start going after people like Judge Bell, there's no backing out. The stakes get higher. The risks get bigger. You need to be sure. Maya looked around the basement office, at all the faces on the corkboard, at the evidence of lives saved and systems challenged. She thought about Elena upstairs, about Patricia at her bakery job, about Keisha in community college. She thought about all the women she'd treated over the years, the ones who'd gone home and never come back, the ones who'd died while she filed paperwork. I'm sure, she said. The doorbell rang upstairs. Dante smiled. Good, let's go meet our detective. They went back up to find Lucia letting someone in. The woman who entered was tall, black, probably in her late 30s, with her hair cut short and professional. She wore slacks and a blazer with a badge clipped to her belt. She moved like someone who'd been a cop, long enough to be comfortable with authority, but not long enough to be jaded by it. Nora, Dante said. This is Maya Voss, the nurse I told you about. Nora extended her hand. Detective Nora Hale, Brooklyn SVU. Before you panic, I'm not here in an official capacity. Maya shook her hand cautiously. Then why are you here? Because I'm tired of arresting men for assault only to watch them get released the same day. I'm tired of taking statements from terrified women who recant them 24 hours later. I'm tired of investigating murders that could have been prevented if anyone had actually done their job. Nora's grip was firm, her gaze direct. Dante told me what you've been doing. I want to help. Help how? You're a cop. A cop with access to databases, case files, and ongoing investigations. A cop who knows which men are about to escalate and which women are about to die. A cop who's willing to look the other way when those men suddenly decide to leave town or have unfortunate accidents. Maya pulled her hand back. This is insane. You could lose your job. You could go to prison. I could also save lives. Nora sat down on the couch like she owned the place. 7 years ago, I responded to a domestic violence call. Woman named Sarah Chen, beaten so badly I couldn't recognize her face. Her husband was sitting in the kitchen, calm as anything, drinking a beer. We arrested him. She pressed charges. He made bail in 6 hours. She dropped the charges 2 days later. 3 months after that, I responded to another call at the same address. Sarah Chen was dead. Her husband claimed self-defense. He served 18 months. The room was silent. I became a cop to help people, Nora continued. But the system doesn't help people. It processes them. It files paperwork. It follows procedures that were written by people who've never been terrified in their own homes. So yeah, I'm willing to bend some rules, break some rules, whatever it takes to make sure fewer women end up like Sarah Chen. Maya sat down across from her. What exactly are you proposing? I give you and Dante names of women I think are in immediate danger. You reach out to them through the hospital, offer them help. Dante handles the men. I make sure the investigations go nowhere or lead to evidence that puts them away legally. We become a network, medical, criminal justice, and enforcement working together. And when someone figures out what we're doing, they won't. We're careful, we're smart, and we're helping people the system has abandoned. That makes us harder to catch than you'd think. Dante leaned against the wall, watching them both. Nora's already been feeding me information for 6 months. She's the reason we found half the men on that board downstairs. She's also the reason several of them are currently serving time for crimes they actually committed but would have gotten away with without her help. You're planting evidence? Maya asked. I'm making sure evidence doesn't get lost, Nora corrected. There's a difference. If a man beats his wife and I make sure the photos of her injuries don't mysteriously disappear from the case file, that's not planting evidence. That's doing my job properly. Maya rubbed her temples. This was getting bigger, more complicated, more dangerous. A nurse, a vigilante, and a cop working together to circumvent the justice system. If anyone found out, they'd all go to prison. But how many women would die if they didn't do this? There's one case I need your help with specifically, Nora said. Judge Adrian Bell. Maya looked at Dante. You said you were working on him. We are, but we need more than just suspicion. We need proof, and his wife Vivian has that proof, if we can convince her to share it. Nora pulled out her phone and showed Maya a photo. A woman in her early 50s, thin and elegant, with carefully styled gray hair and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Vivian Bell. She's been to the ER 4 times in the past 3 years. Falls, accidents, clumsiness, always at different hospitals, always with her husband present, always declining to press charges or answer questions. I've never treated her, Maya said. That's because she's careful. She rotates hospitals, never goes to the same one twice in a row. But you're networked with nurses at other hospitals. You could reach out to them, find out which one she's been to most recently, maybe even arrange to be there next time she comes in. You want me to ambush her in an ER? I want you to offer her a way out. She's a prisoner in her own life, Maya. Her husband has isolated her from everyone. Her children won't speak to her because he's poisoned them against her. She has no money, no friends, no support system. She's drowning, and nobody's throwing her a rope. Why should she trust me? Because you're a nurse, because you've seen what he does to her, because you can offer her something nobody else can. Real safety, real protection, real justice. Nora leaned forward. Judge Bell has been destroying lives for 15 years. Women, children, families. He rules against protective orders. He sends kids back to abusive parents. He lets violent men walk free, all while beating his own wife. If we take him down, we don't just save Vivian. We save everyone he would have hurt in the future. Maya thought about the corkboard downstairs, about the judge's photo, about all the lives he'd ruined from behind his bench. What kind of evidence does she have? Maya asked. Dante answered, financial records showing he's been taking bribes from divorce attorneys, medical records documenting her injuries, videos he doesn't know she recorded, emails between him and colleagues coordinating decisions in cases. Enough to destroy his career and put him in prison if it ever went public. Why hasn't she released it? Because she's terrified, Nora said. He's told her that if she ever betrays him, he'll kill her. And she believes him. She's seen what he's capable of. So how do we get her to risk everything? We show her she's not alone. We show her there's a way out. We show her that we can protect her. Dante's voice was steady, certain. And then we give her a choice. Stay with him and die eventually, or trust us and live. Maya stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Brooklyn was going about its day. People walking dogs, kids playing, normal life happening while 3 people in a brownstone planned to take down a judge. If we do this, if we go after someone this powerful, it'll be different, Maya said. It'll be bigger than scaring off some abusive boyfriend. This will have consequences. It will, Dante agreed. But the consequences of not doing it are worse. Maya turned back to face them. Dante, calm and confident in his expensive clothes and his history of violence. Nora, a cop willing to break the law to enforce justice. And herself, a nurse who'd crossed too many lines to pretend she hadn't. How do we start? Maya asked. Nora smiled. I'll find out which hospital Vivian was at most recently. You reach out to the staff there, build a connection, make sure they call you next time she comes in. When she does, you talk to her, carefully, privately, without her husband around. You plant the seed. You let her know there's help if she wants it. And if she doesn't want it, then we wait. We keep watching, keep building our case, keep protecting other women, but eventually she'll want it. They always do. It just takes time. How much time? However long it takes, Dante said. We don't rush this. Belle is too important, too connected. We need to do this right. Maya nodded slowly. Okay, I'm in, but I have one condition. What's that? No more surprises. No more secrets. If we're doing this together, I need to know everything. What you're planning, who you're targeting, what the risks are. All of it. Dante and Nora exchanged a look. Agreed, Dante said finally. No more secrets. Nora stood up. I need to get back to the precinct. I'll send you the hospital information tonight. She shook Maya's hand again. Welcome to the team, such as it is. After she left, Maya and Dante stood in the living room in silence. You're sure about this? Dante asked. No, but I'm doing it anyway. That's all I ask. He walked her to the door. We're going to save a lot of people, Maya. It won't be clean, it won't be legal, and it definitely won't be easy. But we're going to save them. Maya stepped out onto the brownstone steps, into the afternoon sunlight. Her hands weren't shaking anymore. Her heart wasn't pounding. She felt calm, centered, certain in a way she hadn't felt in years. She'd just committed to taking down a judge, to working with a vigilante and a corrupt cop, to becoming part of something that could destroy her life if anyone found out. And she was okay with that, because for the first time since she'd become a nurse, she wasn't just treating wounds, she was preventing them. She was saving lives. And if that made her a criminal, then maybe the law was wrong. It took Nora 3 days to track down where Vivian Bell had been treated most recently. The hospital was in Manhattan, a private facility that catered to people with money and secrets. Maya called the charge nurse there and invented a story about doing research on domestic violence protocols, asked if she could shadow their ER staff for a few shifts to see how different hospitals handled sensitive cases. The charge nurse, a woman named Caroline, sounded tired when she said yes. We don't get many volunteers wanting to learn about this stuff. Most people would rather pretend it doesn't happen in neighborhoods like ours. Maya spent 2 shifts at Manhattan Presbyterian watching wealthy women come in with injuries that didn't match their stories. A socialite with a black eye from walking into a cabinet. A lawyer's wife with a broken finger from slamming it in a car door. A professor with bruised ribs from falling off her bike. All of them had the same hollow look in their eyes, the same practiced lies, the same fear underneath the expensive clothes and perfect makeup. On her 3rd shift, Vivian Bell walked through the doors. She was smaller in person than in her photos, almost fragile looking, wearing a cream-colored sweater and slacks that probably cost more than Maya's rent. Her left wrist was wrapped in a scarf that didn't quite hide the swelling. Caroline saw her and sighed. Mrs. Bell, back again? I'm so sorry to bother you, Vivian said in a voice like cut glass, refined and careful. I was arranging flowers and the vase slipped. I think I might have sprained my wrist. Of course, let me get you checked in. Maya watched from the nurse's station as Caroline took Vivian back to an exam room. The judge wasn't with her this time. That was unusual, according to Nora's notes. He usually accompanied his wife to every medical visit, controlled every conversation, answered questions before she could. Maya waited 15 minutes, then walked to the exam room and knocked. Come in, Vivian called. Maya pushed through the curtain. Vivian was sitting on the bed, her scarf removed now, revealing a wrist that was definitely not injured by a falling vase. The bruising was in the shape of fingers, someone grabbing and twisting hard enough to damage tissue. Hi, I'm Maya. I'm shadowing here today learning about ER protocols. Is it okay if I sit in while Caroline examines you? Vivian's smile was automatic, practiced. Of course. Caroline came in a moment later with the X-ray requisition. Maya's going to stay with you while I get these processed, if that's all right. Perfectly fine. Caroline left, and suddenly Maya was alone with the woman they'd been hunting for weeks. Vivian sat very still on the exam bed, her hands folded in her lap except for the injured wrist resting on a pillow. Up close, Maya could see the careful makeup that almost hid the fading bruise on her cheekbone. The way her posture suggested someone who'd learned to take up as little space as possible. A vase didn't do that, Maya said quietly. Vivian's expression didn't change. I'm quite clumsy. No, you're not. You're careful. Probably the most careful person in any room you're in. You have to be. Something flickered behind Vivian's eyes. Fear, maybe? Or recognition? I don't know what you mean. Maya pulled over a stool and sat down, keeping her voice low. My name is Mafia Boss. I'm a nurse at Brooklyn Methodist. I work with women who've been hurt by the people who are supposed to love them. I know what those injuries look like, and I know that you didn't get that from any vase. You should leave. Vivian's voice was still polite, still controlled, but there was an edge to it now. I know about your husband. I know what he does to you, and I know you have evidence that could put him away. Vivian stood up abruptly, cradling her wrist. I'm going to call for security. Please don't. Just listen for 1 minute. I don't need to listen to conspiracy theories from some stranger who, your husband is Judge Adrian Bell. You've been married for 26 years. You have 2 children who don't speak to you anymore because he's convinced them you're unstable. You've been to the emergency room 9 times in the past 5 years at 6 different hospitals. You rotate them so nobody sees the pattern. But I see it. And I can help you. Vivian's face had gone pale. She sat back down slowly, like her legs wouldn't hold her anymore. Who sent you? People who want to help. People who understand that the system failed you. People with resources to protect you if you decide to leave. I can't leave. You don't understand. I understand more than you think. I understand that you're terrified. I understand that he's isolated you from everyone who might help you. I understand that you think there's no way out. Maya leaned forward. But there is. We can protect you. We can make sure he never touches you again. We can give you your life back. Vivian's hands were shaking now. He'll kill me. If I try to leave, if I say anything, he'll kill me. He's told me exactly how he'll do it. He has friends, connections, people who owe him favors. I wouldn't make it a week. Not if you're somewhere he can't find you. Not if you have people protecting you who are just as connected as he is. Nobody is as connected as Adrian. You'd be surprised. Maya pulled out her phone and showed Vivian a photo of the brownstone in Crown Heights. This is a safe house. There are 6 others like it across the city. Women stay there while they rebuild their lives. Security, therapy, legal help, job training, everything you need to start over. Vivian stared at the photo. I don't have any money. He controls everything, every account, every credit card, every asset. I couldn't even buy a bus ticket without him knowing. We don't need your money. We just need you. Why? Why would strangers risk everything to help me? Because your husband isn't just hurting you. He's hurting hundreds of people from that bench. He denies protective orders to women who need them. He sends children back to homes where they're being abused. He lets violent men walk free. He's corrupted the entire family court system in Brooklyn. If we take him down, we save everyone he would have hurt in the future. Vivian's laugh was bitter. You can't take him down. People have tried. Nothing sticks. He's untouchable. Not if we have evidence. Real evidence. The kind he doesn't know exists. Vivian's eyes went wide. She understood what Maya was asking. I can't. Even if I wanted to, I can't. He has security systems everywhere, cameras, alarms. I can't access his office without him knowing. I can't take anything without him noticing. It's impossible. Is it in the house? The evidence? I didn't say there was evidence. You didn't have to. You're still alive, which means he thinks you're harmless. But you're not harmless. You're documenting everything, keeping records, building a case for the day you're brave enough to use it. You've been doing it for years. Vivian's composure finally cracked. Tears spilled down her cheeks, ruining her careful makeup. You don't know what you're asking. You don't know what he is. Then tell me. Vivian wiped her eyes with her good hand, smearing mascara. He's a monster. Not the kind that loses control or acts out of rage. The calculated kind. The kind who plans everything, who knows exactly how much damage to do without leaving marks that last. The kind who destroys you so slowly you don't even realize it's happening until you're nothing. How long has he been doing this to you? Since our wedding night. 26 years of walking on eggshells, of measuring every word, of trying to be perfect enough that maybe he'd stop. But he never stopped. He just got better at hiding it. Maya's chest ached. 26 years. More than half of Vivian's life spent in fear. Where's the evidence? In his home office. He has a safe behind a painting, financial records, videos, emails. Everything you'd need to destroy him professionally and put him in prison personally. He doesn't know I have the combination. He changed it 6 months ago, and I watched him enter it through a reflection in the window. Can you get it? Not without him knowing. He tracks my movements in the house. Motion sensors, cameras. If I go into his office when he's not there, he gets an alert on his phone. What if he was distracted? What if something required his immediate attention somewhere else? Vivian shook her head. He doesn't get distracted. He's too controlled for that. Everyone gets distracted if the crisis is big enough. Maya put her phone away. I'm going to give you a number. When you're ready, when you can't take it anymore, call it. We'll create a situation that requires the judge's immediate presence somewhere across town. While he's gone, You get the evidence, and we extract you. By the time he realizes what's happened, you'll be somewhere safe, and the evidence will be in the hands of people who can actually use it. Federal authorities won't touch him. He has friends in the FBI, the Attorney General's office. We're not talking about his friends. We're talking about his enemies. Every powerful man has them. People he's crossed, people who'd love to see him fall. We just need to give them the ammunition. Caroline pushed through the curtain with the X-ray films. Good news, Mrs. Bell. No fracture, just a bad sprain. We'll wrap it, and you'll be good to go. Maya stood up. I'll leave you to it. Mrs. Bell, it was nice meeting you. Vivian met her eyes. There was something different there now. Not hope exactly, but maybe the possibility of hope. You too. Maya left the exam room and went back to the nurse's station. Her hands were steady, but her heart was racing. She'd done it. She'd made contact, planted the seed. Now they just had to wait and see if Vivian was desperate enough to water it. She finished her shift and took the subway back to Brooklyn. Dante was waiting for her at a coffee shop near the hospital, looking out a place in his expensive suit among the medical students and exhausted residents. How'd it go? He asked when she sat down. She's interested, terrified, but interested. The evidence is in a safe in his home office. She can't access it without triggering security alerts. So we create a distraction. That's what I told her, but it has to be big enough to get him across town immediately. Something he can't ignore or delegate. Dante sipped his espresso. What if one of his colleagues was arrested? Someone he's close to, someone whose downfall would threaten him directly. You have someone in mind? Judge Richard Moss. He and Bell have been friends for 20 years. They golf together, vacation together, cover for each other. Moss is also taking bribes, but he's sloppy about it. Noor's been building a case against him for months. If we move now, if we arrest him publicly and make it clear he's about to flip on his co-conspirators, Bell will panic. He'll rush to contain the damage, probably meet with attorneys or other judges to coordinate their defense. That gives us a window. How long? 2 hours? Maybe 3? Enough time for Vivian to get into the safe, photograph everything, and get out. Maya shook her head. She can't just walk out with her arms full of evidence. Where would she even go? He'll track her phone, her car, her credit cards. We'll have someone pick her up. One of my people, someone he won't recognize. They'll bring her to a safe house and sit on the evidence until we're ready to release it. And when do we release it? When we've contacted every media outlet, every federal agency, and every political enemy Bell has made in 26 years on the bench. We release it everywhere at once so he can't contain it. By the time the sun rises, Judge Adrian Bell will be finished. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. This was really happening. They were really going to take down a sitting judge. What if something goes wrong? What if he finds out before we can get Vivian out? Then we move to plan B. Which is? We extract Vivian by force and worry about the evidence later. Her life is more important than his downfall. Maya wanted to believe that. She wanted to believe that they'd prioritize saving Vivian over destroying Bell. But she'd seen the look in Dante's eyes when he talked about his sister, about the men who hurt women and got away with it. She knew that taking down Bell meant more to him than just saving one woman. It meant proving that nobody was untouchable, that power couldn't protect you from consequences forever. When? Maya asked. Soon. Noor is finalizing the arrest warrant for Moss. Once that's ready, we move. Could be days, could be weeks. Depends on how fast the prosecutor's office processes the paperwork. And in the meantime? In the meantime, you keep working, keep helping women, keep building trust with Vivian. We need her to believe we can actually protect her. Because once we make our move, there's no going back, for any of us. Maya finished her coffee and stood up. I should get home. I have another shift tomorrow. Dante walked her to the subway entrance. You did good today. Getting Vivian to talk, that's not easy. Most women in her position won't even admit there's a problem. She's been documenting everything for years. That takes courage. Or desperation. Sometimes they're the same thing. Maya descended into the subway station, leaving Dante on the street above. The train was crowded, standing room only, and she ended up pressed against the door watching Brooklyn slide past through the scratched window. She thought about Vivian Bell sitting in that exam room, thought about the 26 years of carefully hidden bruises and practiced lies, thought about the evidence locked in a safe that could bring down one of the most powerful men in the city. She thought about what would happen if they failed. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Thank you for today. I'll think about what you said. Maya stared at the message. Vivian had found a way to contact her already. That was faster than expected. She typed back, "Take all the time you need. When you're ready, we'll be here." The response came quickly. "How do I know I can trust you?" "You don't. But you can't keep living like this either. Eventually, you have to choose between staying safe and staying alive. They're not always the same thing." The three dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "I'll call when I'm ready." Maya put her phone away and closed her eyes. The train rattled through the tunnel, carrying her home through the dark. 3 weeks passed before Nora called with news. The arrest warrant for Judge Moss was approved. They were moving in 2 days. Maya was at work when she got the message. She stepped into the medication room and called Dante back. "Nora's executing the warrant Thursday morning," Dante said. 9 a.m. at Moss's home. Full media circus, cameras everywhere. Belle will hear about it within minutes. "That's when we move?" "That's when Vivian moves. We need you to call her. Tell her it's happening. Make sure she's ready." Maya's hands went cold. What if she's not ready? Then we abort and wait for another opportunity. But we need to try. Moss's arrest is the perfect cover. We might not get a chance like this again. Maya hung up and pulled out her phone. She'd saved Vivian's number under a fake name just in case. She dialed and waited through 4 rings before Vivian answered. "Maya?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "We're moving Thursday. 9 a.m. Are you ready?" Silence on the other end. Maya could hear Vivian breathing, could almost feel her fear through the phone. "I don't know if I can do this," Vivian said finally. "Yes, you can. You've been preparing for this for years." Preparing and actually doing it are different things. I know. But if you don't do this now, when will you? How many more years will you spend being afraid? How many more times will you end up in an emergency room with injuries you have to lie about? What if he catches me? He won't. We've planned for everything. The moment you have the evidence, we extract you. You'll never have to see him again. He'll come after me, after you, after everyone involved. Let him try. We're not afraid of him. Vivian laughed, a sound with no humor in it. You should be. You have no idea what he's capable of. Then show us. Give us the evidence and let us destroy him before he can hurt anyone else. Another long silence. Maya waited, letting Vivian work through it. She knew better than to push too hard. This had to be Vivian's choice, or she'd back out at the last second. "Thursday morning," Vivian said finally. 9 a.m. What do I need to do? Maya walked her through the plan. When Judge Moss was arrested, Belle would get a call. He'd leave immediately, probably heading to Moss's house or to meet with other judges to coordinate their response. That would give Vivian approximately 2 hours alone in the house. "The cameras?" Vivian asked. "We're taking care of those. You'll get a text at 9:15. That's your signal that the security system is down. You'll have 20 minutes before it comes back online." "How are you taking down his security system?" "You don't need to know that. Just trust that when you get the text, it's safe to move." "And after I have the evidence?" "A car will be waiting 2 blocks from your house. Black SUV, license plate number. I'll text you tomorrow. The driver's name is Marco. He'll take you to a safe house where you'll stay until this is over." "How long will that be?" "However long it takes. Could be days, could be weeks. But you'll be safe and you'll be free. Isn't that worth it?" Vivian's voice cracked. "I haven't been free in 26 years. I don't even remember what that feels like." "You're about to find out." After they hung up, Maya sat in the medication room for a long time, staring at her hands. They were shaking now. This was real. This was happening. In 2 days, they were going to take down a judge, and if anything went wrong, people would die. She thought about calling it off, about telling Dante and Nora that this was too dangerous, that they needed more time to plan. But she knew they didn't have more time. Every day that passed was another day Vivian lived in fear. Another day Belle destroyed lives from his bench. Another day the system failed to protect the people it was supposed to serve. Her phone rang. It was Shanice. "Where are you? We've got a major trauma coming in. Multiple victims from a car accident." Maya shook off the fear and stood up. "On my way." She pushed through the door and back into the chaos of the ER, back into the work that had defined her life for 9 years. But even as she moved through the familiar rhythms of triage and treatment, part of her mind was already on Thursday morning, already counting down the hours until everything changed. The trauma was bad. A minivan full of teenagers had been T-boned by a drunk driver. Maya worked on a 16-year-old girl with internal bleeding, watching Dr. Reeves fight to save her life while her friends screamed in the hallway. They got her stabilized enough for surgery, and Maya stood at the sink afterward, washing blood off her hands and thinking about how fragile everything was, how quickly life could turn into death. She thought about Vivian Bell, about what would happen if their plan failed. Would Bell kill her? Would he make it look like an accident, like suicide, like anything except what it really was? Her phone buzzed. A text from Dante. Everything's set. Thursday at 9. No backing out now. Maya dried her hands and went back to work. The next 2 days crawled by. Maya went through her shifts on autopilot, her mind constantly running through the plan, looking for holes, imagining disasters. She barely slept. When she did, she dreamed about Vivian trapped in that house, about Belle discovering what they were planning, about everything falling apart. Wednesday night, she lay in bed staring at the ceiling, watching the hours tick away. At 3 a.m., she gave up on sleep and made coffee. At 4, she showered. At 5, she sat on her couch and watched the sky lighten outside her window. Her phone rang at 6. It was Nora. You awake? Yeah, good. I'm heading to Moss's place now. The arrest goes down at 9 sharp. Dante's people are ready to take down Belle's security system. Marco will be in position by 8:45. All you need to do is make sure Vivian's ready. I called her last night. She's ready. Ready and not panicking are different things. Call her again. Make sure she understands the timing. This has to be precise. Maya hung up and dialed Vivian's number. It went to voicemail. She tried again. Still voicemail. A cold fist closed around her heart. She called Dante. Vivian's not answering. Maybe she's in the shower. Try again in 10 minutes. Maya tried every 5 minutes for the next hour. Every call went to voicemail. At 8:30, she called Dante back. Something's wrong. Don't panic. She might have turned off her phone to avoid Belle seeing calls from you. Or he found out, or she backed out, or... Maya, breathe. We don't abort until we know for sure. Nora's moving on Moss in 30 minutes. That's our window. If Vivian doesn't move, we'll know soon enough. Maya paced her apartment, phone clutched in her hand, willing it to ring. At 8:55, it finally did. Maya, Vivian's voice was steady, resolved. I'm ready. Tell me when. Relief flooded through her. Any minute now. Watch the news. When you see Moss getting arrested, wait 5 minutes and then check your phone for the signal. I'm scared. I know, but you can do this. What if I can't? What if I freeze? You won't. You've been brave for 26 years. You can be brave for 2 more hours. At exactly 9 a.m., Maya's phone lit up with a news alert. Judge Richard Moss arrested on corruption charges. She immediately texted Vivian, now, move now. The response came 15 seconds later. Okay. Maya sat down on her couch, phone in hand, and waited. Every minute felt like an hour. She imagined Vivian walking through that house, hearing every creak of the floorboards, jumping at every sound. She imagined her standing in front of the safe, hands shaking as she entered the combination. She imagined her taking out files, photographing pages, trying not to think about what would happen if the door opened behind her. At 9:45, her phone rang. Vivian. I have it. Everything. It's worse than I thought. Get out. Now. Marco's waiting. There are videos, Maya. Not just of him hitting me. Of him with other women, young women, girls. There are photos, documents, things I didn't even know existed. This isn't just corruption. It's, Vivian, you need to leave. Right now. I'm going. The line went dead. Maya sat frozen, staring at her phone. Young women, girls. Her stomach turned over. This was bigger than they'd thought. Worse than they'd imagined. Her phone rang again. Dante. Vivian's out. Marco has her. They're heading to the safe house now. Maya exhaled for what felt like the first time in hours. She said there's more. Videos, photos, things involving girls. Silence on the other end. Then, we need to see it. All of it. Tonight. What about Belle? When will he know she's gone? Soon. Maybe already. But it doesn't matter anymore. We have the evidence. Now we just need to use it. Maya's hands were shaking again. They'd done it. They'd actually done it. Vivian was safe. The evidence was secured, and Judge Adrian Bell's world was about to come crashing down. But as she sat there in her apartment, phone in hand, All she could think about was Vivian's voice saying girls and wondering what kind of monster they'd really been fighting this whole time. Maya arrived at the Crown Heights brownstone just after noon. Dante was waiting in the basement office, surrounded by open laptops and stacks of documents that Vivian had pulled from the safe. His expression was dark in a way Maya had never seen before. Not angry exactly, more like someone who'd just watched something fundamentally break. "Where is she?" Maya asked. "Upstairs with Lucia. She's okay physically. Emotionally is another story." Dante gestured to the laptops. "You should see this. All of it. Before we decide what to do next." Maya sat down and Dante clicked through files. Bank records showing wire transfers to offshore accounts. Hundreds of thousands of dollars from attorneys and defendants in cases Bell had presided over. Emails coordinating decisions with other judges, ensuring certain outcomes in exchange for favors or money. Text messages between Bell and lawyers discussing which protective orders to deny, which custody cases to rule in favor of abusive fathers. Then came the videos. The first one showed Bell in his home office, hitting Vivian across the face while she cowered against the wall. The second showed him choking her until she passed out. The third showed him methodically breaking her fingers one by one while explaining in a calm voice why she deserved it. Maya felt bile rise in her throat, but she kept watching because Vivian had lived through it, and the least Maya could do was bear witness. Then Dante opened a different folder. "This is the part that changes everything," he said quietly. The videos in this folder weren't of Vivian. They were of younger women, girls really, some of them looking barely 18. Bell with clerks from his office, with interns, with defendants who'd appeared before him. The files were labeled with dates going back over a decade. He was using his position to coerce them, Dante said, offering favorable rulings in exchange for silence, threatening to destroy their cases if they refused. Some of these women were victims in domestic violence cases he was supposed to be protecting. Maya's hands clenched into fists. "We need to turn this over to the FBI." "Already done." Nora's contact in the federal prosecutor's office received everything an hour ago. Anonymous tip, untraceable. They'll have warrants by end of day. What about the media? That's trickier. If we release this publicly before the arrest, Bell might run. We need him in custody first. And if he figures out Vivian took the evidence, if he goes after her, he won't get the chance. I have people watching his house, his office, everywhere he might go. The second he moves toward her, we intervene. Maya rubbed her temples. This is going to be huge. National news. Every case he's ever ruled on will be questioned. Every decision he's made will be reviewed. Good. That's what should happen when someone abuses power like this. What about the women in those videos? When this goes public, they'll be dragged into it. Their trauma will become entertainment for people who don't care about anything, except the scandal. Dante's jaw tightened. Nora's reaching out to them first, giving them the option to come forward on their own terms or remain anonymous. We're not going to victimize them twice. Maya stood up and paced the small office. "I need to talk to Vivian." She found her upstairs in one of the bedrooms, sitting on the bed with her knees pulled to her chest. She looked smaller than ever, fragile in a way that had nothing to do with her size. Elena was sitting next to her, one arm around her shoulders. "Mrs. Bell," Maya said from the doorway. "Can we talk?" Vivian looked up, her eyes red from crying. "You saw it, the videos." "Yes." "All of them?" "Yes." Vivian's face crumpled. "I'm so ashamed that I stayed, that I let him do those things, that I knew what he was and I still protected him for so long." Maya sat down on the other side of the bed. "You survived. That's not something to be ashamed of. I could have stopped him years ago. Those other women, those girls, I could have prevented what he did to them if I'd just been brave enough." "No." Maya's voice was firm. "You were a victim too. You don't get to blame yourself for what he chose to do." "But I knew. I saw the signs. I heard the phone calls, saw the messages. I knew he was hurting other people and I was too scared to do anything about it." Elena squeezed her shoulder. "We all make choices based on what we can survive. You survived. That took courage too." Vivian wiped her eyes. "What happens now?" "Now the federal prosecutor builds a case," Maya said. "They'll arrest him, probably within the next 24 hours. The evidence you provided will be the foundation of that case. You'll be asked to testify eventually, but only if you're willing." "I'll testify. I want to look him in the eye and tell the truth for once in my life. It won't be easy. The trial could take months. His attorneys will try to discredit you, claim you're lying, that you're unstable. They'll drag your name through everything they can find. Let them. I'm not the one who should be ashamed. Maya studied her face. There was something different there now, something that hadn't been present in the ER or even during their phone calls. Strength, maybe. Or maybe just the absence of fear. Your children, Maya said carefully. Have you thought about reaching out to them? Vivian's expression crumbled again. They hate me. Adrian convinced them I was the problem, that I was mentally ill, that everything that happened was my fault. They haven't spoken to me in 3 years. Maybe when they see the evidence, when they understand what really happened, maybe. Or maybe they're too far gone. Maybe he poisoned them against me so thoroughly that even the truth won't matter. Vivian took a shaky breath. But I have to try. They deserve to know who their father really is. Downstairs, the front door opened and closed. Voices in the hallway, tense and urgent. Maya recognized Nora's voice, then Dante's. Something's happening, Maya said, standing up. Stay here. She went downstairs to find Nora in the living room, still wearing her detective's badge and gun. Her face was grim. Federal agents are moving on Bell now, Nora said. But there's a problem. He's not at home or his office. We don't know where he is. Maya's blood went cold. You think he knows? I think he's smart enough to notice that his wife is missing and his security system was compromised. I think he's running. Dante was already on his phone making calls. I have people at the airports, train stations, major roads out of the city. If he tries to leave, we'll know. Unless he already left, Maya said. It's been hours since Vivian got out. He could be anywhere by now. Nora shook her head. I don't think so. His car is still at the courthouse. His credit cards haven't been used. He's still in the city somewhere. Or he has resources we don't know about. Cash, fake identities, safe houses of his own. Dante hung up his phone. My contact at the federal prosecutor's office says they've issued a warrant. Bell is officially wanted for questioning in connection with corruption charges. If he runs now, he's only making it worse for himself. Men like him don't think that way, Nora said. They think they're untouchable, right up until the moment they're not. And when they realize they've lost, they either surrender or they lash out. Maya felt her stomach drop. Vivian, you think he'll come after her? I think it's a possibility we need to prepare for. Dante was already moving toward the stairs. I'm putting more security on this house. No one gets in or out without clearance. We should move her, Maya said. If he knows about this location, he doesn't. This house isn't connected to me in any public way. It's owned by a shell company 3 layers deep. He'd need serious resources to trace it. He's a judge. He has serious resources. Nora pulled out her phone. I'll have patrol cars in the area unmarked. If Bell shows up anywhere near this block, we'll know immediately. The next few hours passed in tense waiting. Maya stayed with Vivian upstairs while Dante coordinated security, and Nora worked her law enforcement contacts trying to locate Bell. The other women in the house could feel the tension, moving quietly through the halls, speaking in whispers. At 6 p.m., Maya's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Hello. Heavy breathing on the other end. Then a voice, male, cultured, cold. I know who you are, Miss Voss. I know what you've done. Maya's hand tightened on the phone. Judge Bell, you have something that belongs to me. I want it back. Your wife isn't property. She's a person. And she's safe now. Safe? Bell laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You think you can protect her from me? You have no idea what I'm capable of. I've seen the videos. I know exactly what you're capable of. Those videos are stolen property, obtained illegally. They'll never be admissible in court. Maybe not. But they're already in the hands of federal prosecutors and about a dozen media outlets. By tomorrow morning, the whole world will know what you are. Silence on the other end. When Bell spoke again, his voice was different, softer, more dangerous. Give me my wife. Give me the evidence. I'll make this worth your while. I have money, connections. I can make your problems disappear. I don't have problems. You do. Everyone has problems, Miss Voss. Everyone has secrets. I wonder what yours are. Maya felt a chill run down her spine but kept her voice steady. Is that a threat? It's a fact. You're a nurse who's been passing information to a known criminal. You've been complicit in assaults, possibly murders. How long do you think your license will survive once that comes out? How long before you're the one behind bars? If you're trying to scare me, it's not working. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to help you understand the situation. You're in over your head. This man you're working with, this Dante Vale, he's using you. When this falls apart, you'll take the blame and he'll walk away clean. You're wasting your time. Am I? Then tell me this. How many of those women you've saved actually wanted saving? How many of them would have left on their own if given the chance? You're not a hero, Miss Voss. You're just someone who needs to feel important. Maya hung up. Her hands were shaking again. She went downstairs and found Dante in the kitchen. Bell just called me. He knows who I am. He's threatening to expose our operation. Dante didn't look surprised. Let him try. By tomorrow he'll be in federal custody. His threats are empty. What if they're not? What if he really does have resources we don't know about? What if he can make this all disappear? He can't. We have too much evidence, too many people involved. The federal government doesn't just drop cases because some judge makes threats. He said you're using me, that I'll take the blame when this falls apart. Dante met her eyes. Do you believe that? Maya wanted to say no immediately, wanted to dismiss it as manipulation, but part of her wondered. Part of her had always wondered what Dante's endgame really was, whether she was just a useful tool in his larger plan. I don't know, she said honestly. Fair enough. Dante leaned against the counter. Here's the truth. I am using you. I'm using Nora. I'm using Lucia and everyone else who's part of this. We're all using each other because that's how this works. You use me to help women the system won't protect. I use you to identify those women and build cases against their abusers. Nora uses both of us to actually enforce justice when the law fails. We're all complicit, all guilty, all taking risks. The difference between us and Bell is that we're trying to save people and he's trying to save himself. Person. That's a pretty thin line. Maybe, but it's still a line. And as long as we stay on this side of it, I can sleep at night. Can you? Maya thought about Amy Chen smiling in her follow-up appointment. About Patricia working at her bakery. About Elena in college studying social work. About Vivian upstairs, terrified but free for the first time in 26 years. Yeah, she said. I can. Her phone buzzed. Nora calling. We found him, Nora said without preamble. He's at a hotel in Midtown. Federal agents are moving in now. Is he alone? We think so. SWAT is setting up. This should be over in the next hour. Maya hung up and relayed the information to Dante. They went upstairs to tell Vivian, who was sitting in the bedroom with Elena and Lucia. They found him, Maya said. It's almost over. Vivian's face went pale. What if he fights back? What if he hurts someone? He's surrounded by federal agents. The only person he can hurt now is himself. They waited. All of them gathered in the living room, watching the news on TV. At 7:45, the breaking news alert flashed across the screen. Judge Adrian Bell, prominent Brooklyn family court judge, arrested on federal corruption charges. The footage showed him being led out of a hotel in handcuffs, his face blank, his expensive suit rumpled. He didn't look powerful anymore. He looked like what he was, a man who'd finally been caught. Vivian started crying. Not sad tears, not scared tears. Something else. Relief, maybe, or grief for all the years she'd lost. Elena held her while she sobbed, and Maya watched the man who'd terrorized his wife for over 2 decades get put into the back of an FBI vehicle. The news anchor was reading from a statement. Evidence of widespread corruption, bribery, abuse of power. Federal prosecutors promising more charges to come. References to other ongoing investigations into Bell's conduct. Maya's phone started buzzing. Text messages from Shanice, from other nurses, from people she hadn't talked to in years. Everyone had seen the news. Everyone wanted to know if she'd known, if she'd been involved. She turned off her phone. Over the next week, the story exploded. More victims came forward, both women Bell had abused personally, and people he'd hurt through his rulings. The videos were leaked, carefully edited to protect victims' identities, but damning enough to destroy any remaining sympathy for Bell. His colleagues scrambled to distance themselves. Other judges whose names appeared in the evidence suddenly retired or took leaves of absence. Judge Moss, already under arrest, agreed to cooperate with federal investigators in exchange for a reduced sentence. His testimony opened up new avenues of investigation, revealing a network of corruption that went far beyond Bell. Vivian's children reached out. First her daughter, tentative and disbelieving, asking if it was true. Then her son, angry and confused, demanding to know why she'd never told them. Vivian met with them separately, slowly, carefully rebuilding relationships that had been destroyed by years of lies. Maya kept working at the ER, kept treating women who came in with injuries that didn't match their stories. But now, when she gave them the number for help, it wasn't Dante's personal line. It was a new organization they'd established, one with legal status and proper oversight. They called it the Harbor Foundation. 3 months after Bell's arrest, Maya stood in front of a brownstone in Fort Greene that looked nothing like the other safe houses. This one had a sign out front, official and legitimate. Inside was a reception area, offices, counseling rooms, a legal clinic. Lucia had been hired as the director. Elena worked there part-time while finishing her degree. Patricia helped run the job training program. Keisha coordinated housing placements. The foundation provided exactly what it promised: shelter, legal assistance, therapy, job training, protection. Everything a woman needed to leave an abusive situation and build a new life. It was funded by anonymous donations that came from sources Maya didn't ask about, because she had a pretty good idea where Dante's money came from, and she'd made peace with that particular moral compromise. The difference was that now it was all legal. No more secret calls. No more vigilante justice. When a woman came to the Harbor Foundation asking for help, they provided it through proper channels. They filed protective orders that judges actually enforced. They connected victims with prosecutors who actually cared. They offered shelter in facilities that had permits and inspections and oversight. And if occasionally an abuser decided to leave town or suffered an unfortunate accident that had nothing to do with the Harbor Foundation, well, Maya didn't ask questions about that either. Bell's trial was set for the following spring. Vivian was scheduled to testify, along with dozens of other witnesses. His attorneys had tried every legal maneuver to get the evidence suppressed, to delay the trial, to discredit the victims. Nothing worked. The case was too solid, too public, too damning. On the 6-month anniversary of Bell's arrest, Maya met Dante for coffee at the same place they'd met that first time. He looked tired but satisfied, the way someone looks when they've finished something difficult but necessary. "Nora's getting promoted," he said. "Lieutenant, running a new task force focused on domestic violence cases. She deserves it." "She does. She's also using her new position to push for policy changes. Better training for officers, stricter enforcement of protective orders, faster processing of domestic violence cases. Real systemic change." Maya sipped her coffee. "What about you? What's next?" Dante smiled. "The import-export business is doing well. I'm thinking about expanding into other cities. Other cities with other safe houses? Maybe. There's a lot of need out there. Be careful. The more you expand, the harder it is to keep things quiet." "I'm always careful. That's why I'm still free." They sat in silence for a moment, watching people pass by on the street. Normal people living normal lives, unaware of the networks operating beneath the surface of their city. "Do you ever regret it?" Maya asked, "getting involved in all this?" "Every day. And never." Dante finished his coffee. "I regret the violence. I regret that the system is so broken that people like us have to exist. But I don't regret helping those women. I don't regret giving them their lives back. Even if it means compromising everything you believe in. I believe in protecting people who can't protect themselves. Everything else is just details." Maya thought about that for a long time after Dante left. She thought about the line between justice and revenge, between helping and controlling, between saving people and deciding they needed saving. She thought about all the choices she'd made over the past year, all the lines she'd crossed, all the things she'd done that she could never undo. She thought about Elena and Patricia and Keisha and Vivian and Amy and all the others living their lives free from fear for the first time in years. And she realized that Dante was right. Everything else was just details. 1 year after Judge Bell's arrest, Maya sat in a courtroom watching Vivian testify. She spoke clearly, calmly, detailing 26 years of abuse with the kind of precision that came from having lived it. Belle's attorneys tried to shake her, tried to make her seem unreliable or vindictive. She didn't break. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Belle was sentenced to 35 years in federal prison. He'd be 90 years old before he'd even be eligible for parole. After the sentencing, Maya met Vivian outside the courthouse. She looked different now, healthier, stronger. She'd started dyeing her hair, something Belle had never allowed. She wore colors instead of the muted tones he'd insisted on. She smiled like someone who'd forgotten how and was relearning. "Thank you," Vivian said, hugging her, "for everything, for believing me, for helping me, for giving me my life back. You did that yourself. I just pointed you in the right direction. You did more than that. You risked everything to help a stranger. That's not nothing." Maya walked back to Brooklyn alone, taking the subway through the city she'd lived in her entire adult life. She thought about the ER waiting for her tomorrow, about the women who would come through those doors with injuries they'd lie about. She thought about the cards she kept in her pocket now, the ones with the Harbor Foundation's number on them. She thought about this fact that this would never really be over, that there would always be more women, more abusers, more cases the system failed to handle. But maybe that was okay. Maybe you couldn't fix everything. Maybe all you could do was help the people in front of you and trust that it made some small difference in the larger pattern. Her phone buzzed. A text from Elena. "Just got accepted to Columbia's social work program, starting in the fall. Thank you for everything." Maya smiled and typed back, "You earned it. Proud of you." Another text, this one from Shanice. "Busy night tonight. We could use an extra pair of hands if you're around." Maya checked the time. Her shift didn't start for 2 hours, but when had that ever stopped her? "On my way," she replied. She emerged from the subway into the Brooklyn evening, the hospital visible in the distance, lights burning in windows where people were fighting to save lives the same way they did every night. Maya had spent 9 years in that building, watching people suffer, watching the system fail them, feeling helpless to do anything but patch them up and send them back out. She didn't feel helpless anymore. She walked toward the hospital, toward the work that would never end, toward the next woman who would need help, and maybe, finally, actually receive it. The street was crowded with people heading home from work, heading out for the evening, living their lives in a city that was broken and beautiful and brutal and kind all at once. Maya had learned something over the past year, something nobody had taught her in nursing school or in all her years of training. She'd learned that sometimes the rules were wrong, sometimes the system failed. Sometimes the only way to help people was to step outside the boundaries of what was legal or sanctioned or safe. She'd learned that justice and the law weren't always the same thing. She'd learned that being good didn't mean being perfect, and that sometimes doing the right thing meant doing something wrong. Most importantly, she'd learned that she could live with that, because at the end of the day, the women were safe. The abusers were stopped. The system was slowly, painfully changing. And if that made her a criminal in the eyes of the law, well, she'd learned to live with worse. She pushed through the doors of Brooklyn Methodist, back into the harsh fluorescent light and the constant beeping of monitors and the smell of disinfectant that would never fully leave her clothes. She found Shanice at the nurse's station, looking harried and grateful. "Thank heaven," Shanice said. "We've got a multi-car pileup coming in. ETA 5 minutes. You're on trauma 3. Maya pulled on her scrubs and gloves, falling back into the familiar rhythm of emergency medicine. But in her pocket, she could feel the cards with the Harbor Foundation's number. She could feel the weight of everything she'd done and everything she'd become. And when the ambulance doors opened and the patients started flooding in, when the chaos and the blood and the desperate fight to save lives began again, Maya moved through it all with the certainty that she was exactly where she was supposed to be, doing exactly what she was supposed to do, saving people, one way or another.